We are excited to welcome you all to the inaugural session of the KNOLSKAPE BFSI Learning Week starting today. It's going to be a week of multiple sessions with industry experts and senior leaders from the HR and business domain discussing emerging trends and transformation. Now, as we move through 2025, India's banking, financial services, and insurance sector is transforming rapidly, and I'm sure all of you are aware of that. Powered by artificial intelligence, the whole discussion around digitalization, regulatory reforms, financial institutions focusing on how to enhance customer experience, streamlining operations, refining the risk management frameworks. The sector is poised to transform our nation's economic landscape. We couldn't have been more privileged to have Mr. Amitabh Nevatia as a guest speaker today. And we are going to be discussing the BFSI landscape for FY26. Amitabh has been associated with the HSBC Group for over 26 years in the capacity of, amongst others, the head of asset liability, capital management for Middle East, North Africa, and Turkey at HSBC Bank Middle East Limited, Dubai, UAE, and is currently the Chief Financial Officer at the Hong Kong and Shanghai Banking Corporation Limited, India. Amitabh holds a bachelor's degree in commerce from Calcutta University and is a chartered accountant at the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Before HSBC, Amitabh worked with the Big Four audit firms in Kolkata, New Delhi, and Dubai. Thank you, Amitabh. We are excited to have you and for taking the time out. And I'm sure our audience has been patiently looking forward to hear you. So a big warm welcome to you, Amitabh.
And thank you very much. Thank you for having me for this session. Very excited to be here.
Thank you. So before we get into the serious stuff of the BFSI landscape, Amitabh, just to know you a little more, and just to warm up things, it's going to be a quick fire, rapid fire questions coming your way.
Okay.
So about 4 questions, and something we both have in common as being Gen X. So my first question, Amitabh, is how have you managed to adopt and handle a multi-generation force over the years? Any quick tips for leaders around?
Though it doesn't work very well at home, at work is the patience and listening.
Right. Thank you. And a very obvious question, Amitabh, what has made you stick to HSBC for close to over 26 years when we are in a period where jumping jobs is a very common thing? So what's been your approach and what is the reason that you've stuck to HSBC for so long?
The ability to find new roles every 4 years, 3 years,
Right.
5 years, and not necessarily vertical.
Right.
I've gone for experiences with lateral move, change my role every 3-4 years.
Right.
So eventually when the bigger opportunity came, I had a lot more all-round experience.
Right.
And I could get a vertical move. So be open to lateral moves, but change every few years is the key.
Sure. That's an excellent tip for a lot of folks who are listening to you. And outside of work, Amitabh, in this whole space of mental well-being, and at a senior level, being a CFO of a large organization, I'm sure there is a lot of pressure. What is your way to relax and get your me time?
Consciously on weekend, if out of the 2 days on the weekend, definitely not work for 1.5 days to the extent possible. Not log in, spend time with family, go out, do something different completely. Go for a movie in Mumbai, enjoy the weather. Mumbai rains are good, so enjoy. Just unwind completely, doing something off work.
Right. And that's, I think, very important for all of us because, if you're not able to just go away from your regular routine, it can take a toll on you. And before we get into the serious discussion, one last question, Amitabh. If you were not part of the BFSI industry, where would you have been?
When I was much younger, I always had a lot of interest in handicrafts. I don't know, I would have opened a store selling more of those kind of things.
Wow.
That was very bizarre, but that was one of the things which used to
No, no.
attract me, the handwork of the artisans.
Sure, sure. Super. Thank you so much for sharing all this. Before I pose my next question to Amitabh, and just to set a little more of context for our listeners, according to a recent report by Motilal Oswal, the BFSI sector in India has witnessed remarkable growth, and we all are aware of that, especially in the last 15 years. While banks continue to be the backbone of the BFSI sector, the rise of new players in NBFCs and fintech sectors has seen a huge surge. My question to you, Amitabh, is how do you think the BFSI landscape has actually shaped, especially in the last 5 years, and we can call that, the post-COVID era? And what are some of the crucial transformations that you've seen around? Any quick thoughts on that?
Sure. I think if we take COVID, where it changed our lives completely, where we used to think everything has to be manual, and banks moved 100% digital during that period seamlessly, other than the cash teller of functions, right? We only used to have tellers operating in the branches, but other than that, everything moved digitally. And to give credit to the regulators and the government, they moved at a faster pace to accept items digitally. That changed the trust factor big time into the whole world, especially in India. That's been a phenomenal transformation. And as you can see, the NBFCs and fintechs, they were able to adopt a lot quicker and deliver a lot quicker, making it easier for the customers. So as a result, the banks also had to step in and improve and be a lot more digital and at the fingertips of the customer, and not be as demanding in terms of paperwork and documentation, which we always used to associate with the bank.
Right,
That,
right,
I always need 100 papers, and a big credit to our Aadhaar and all of those public digital infrastructure, where we are able to verify and authenticate everything automatically, digitally.
sure.
I think the big changes, as you can say, have been the UPI adoption.
Yes, yes.
And there's so many other things the government has done, which has really made it very, very convenient for customers.
Right, right, right. And as part of that, did you see a massive something that you've already spoken of, Amitabh? Did you see a rapid technological advancement, and were banks and other financial institutes quick to adopt in terms of money and budgets being available to make that huge leap and transformation to happen on time?
See, initially, I think it took a while for banks to accept that NBFCs and fintechs can take away business because they're more expensive for customers.
Right, right,
And they thought customers may not pay the price, the
right,
extra price what the NBFCs and the fintechs charge.
right, right.
And customers will move back to the banks.
Yeah,
But what we experience that yes, customers are willing to pay that price for the immediate delivery of service, right? For the quick turnaround.
right,
As a result, the banks have to step up, and the banks have stepped up across. You can see as the HSBC, even we are now doing personal loans 100% digital. You can get money in your bank account in 15 minutes end to end, whether you are an existing customer or not an existing customer. So
right,
we had to change the way we did personal loans, what we used to do before to today. And it's 100% digital. Otherwise, we were losing business in the market. And you don't lose business for one product, right? When a customer goes, he goes away with for all his products.
right,
It
right,
was just not losing the loans business. As a result, we've seen IT invention. And when the banks bring in the technology change, then it's a lot more integrated. It's a lot more
right,
end to end because it's across products. It's just not trying to digitize one end of a one product. So customers benefit a lot more across products. So as a result, then we see customers coming back because the trust factor of the bank can never be replaced by a non-bank player.
sure, sure, sure. And just to add something to what you've shared, Amitabh, and this is again based on certain research that we were also doing, what we discovered was that the Indian BFSI sector has experienced close to about a 50x surge in market capitalization. So while banks
Yes.
remain the backbone, goes without saying, and something that you are actually mentioning, their share in the total BFSI sector market cap has actually declined to about 57% at present, which was close to about 85% in 2005. So that shift which has happened, and the drop in the overall market cap has been quite drastic. And I think it resonates very well with some of the points that you have shared. And, so while we see the bright side of the changing landscape in, the BFSI sector, we know everything is not bright and beautiful. There is always the second side to a coin. What are the current challenges you see in this entire transformation happening, Amitabh, in this sector, whether it's related to product, process, people capability, anything that you could share with our listeners in terms of what are the 3, 4 top challenges that the sector or senior leaders like you are grappling with?
Sure. So I think few things we can talk about. One is the pace of regulatory change, what the
Yeah,
sector is seeing, and which is both at the way all the regulators in India are going through that very fast-paced regulatory change, which is driven by the underlying market scenario, the changing market dynamics, which is leading the banks, NBFCs, fintechs, everyone to adapt to the regulatory change. I think the good thing is the RBI has got the customer at its heart, that how do we protect customers? That's one side. The current other challenges we see is in terms of tech innovation, what's hitting the sector, right? How do we create it? How the tech innovation can change the way the banks operate at the back end.
right,
That's another thing which is impacting. Other big thing is cybersecurity risk, right? Every day in the newspaper, you're reading about one senior, ex-senior citizen, Y senior citizen has been conned by people, right? On a cyber threat. Somebody's posting on the Zoom call as a police or on the OTP sharing. So that's a big challenge for the sector, that how do we protect and help our customers not to get conned by the cyber theft?
right, right, right,
Whatever fast pace the banks are adopting, the regulators are adopting, I think the cyber thieves are a few steps ahead.
right,
And that is one big challenge. I think it personally affects many of us in a leadership role, that, you read about a senior citizen, 70 years old, 80 years old, has lost all his wealth or his savings.
right, right.
And the challenge is, how do you trace that money back and ensure they get it back? It's very difficult to trace it back and give the money back to the
Yes,
senior
yes,
citizens.
right, right. Sure. These are great points, Amitabh. And anything on the people side, Amitabh, because there is this.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So, the first part which I spoke about of the technology transformation, what's coming through
Yeah,
on both on the regulatory side and the tech innovation which we are seeing, I think the pace at which it is coming, the existing workforce is not ready to deal with that change and how to operate in that change,
yeah,
which is positive for us as employees of any organization. How can I benefit and make that as a partner to my own success and definitely to the organization's success? I think that's one area where a lot of work is possibly expected from your end, that how do you utilize that? And I think this leads to a lot of mental health issues also we are seeing, where a lot of insecurity is creeping in into people, both at the senior level and at the junior levels. As a result, a lot of times the work pressure is getting created down the line. So how do we help people through that mental health challenges? How do we support them? How do we get them out of that situation that they can resolve? So once you are confident enough on the training side, that's part of it. And the bigger part is how to deal with this change during the transition. The mental support, I think, is a very big issue, what I see,
right,
and where
right,
we think people require help. If you
right.
read about this techie which came out in today or yesterday's newspaper, at one of the startups giving up his life in Bangalore.
Yes, absolutely.
And imagine the gentleman is an IISc master's graduate. It's
Yeah,
impossible to get into an IISc.
right.
And then if that person has to go through it, possibly mental health, I think, takes the first priority for me.
Yes, goes without saying. And something that you rightly said in the beginning in terms of how you detach yourself from work over the weekends and ensure that you're spending time with your family and getting your me time. And just continuing on the conversation on the people side, Amitabh, there is this whole take on skilling, upskilling, and keeping pace with the new skills that you need. Specifically, and this is something that a lot of our listeners would be keen to know, what key skills you think for the BFSI sector are you witnessing in terms of where people need to keep pace and ensure that with the technology coming up, they're able to match speed with that? Any quick tips, any quick thoughts on that?
So I think at least for finance and other functions, we are seeing a lot of benefits coming out of Power BI, Power Apps,
Right,
Python coding, which can help reduce or crunch time and also bring in efficiency into what people are doing.
right,
As increasingly long working hours are getting elongated, we are telling our teams find stuff to do, automate, which can help you bring your work-life balance better. Outright aim is not to reduce workforce. One is not to definitely not increase as volumes are increasing because front ends are getting digital, not necessarily always the back ends are digital. So we are trying to tell people to get part of that digital innovation, what's happening, and how do you integrate yourself. So big part of the training we are focusing on people is to automate that their day-to-day end is a lot of the basic Python skills uh, and Power Apps, Power BI, how is it helping them, and similar tools using chatbot in a very um, guarded way. I think we use our internal chatbots or chat GPT of our in-house chat GPTs, which can help people access
right,
information quickly rather than trying to go through manuals and online portals, whether they can get selected text out of their various procedure manuals and you know exactly what to do.
right, right, right. And
And
that's the other question in terms of, the AI adoption, because any conference, any conversation is not complete without artificial intelligence. Do you see that getting incorporated as a strategy within the banking sector where technology is available for everyone and the use of AI tools, what you mentioned very rightly?
so definitely big time, as you and I are customers of, even if I don't say the bank anywhere, customers'
Yes,
patience for a wait is getting shrinking by the day, right? So
right,
everyone wants a turnaround time instantly. And it's very easy for me to tell you, listen, why can't you just find this on the net and tell me, or why can't you do it quicker? But for the banks to do this in a compliant way and ensuring we give the right information to clients, we're increasingly relying on in-house tools which are AI compliant and are able to generate complete information what a relationship manager requires when he meets clients, or
right,
our
right,
ability to consume external data and benchmark and show, listen, where do I stand against the competition? Or that helps me also get an insight. What are my gaps compared to the competition? What do I need to improve to be able to serve my clients better?
right,
So very actively, we are using artificial intelligence, public data a lot to gather and understand that what do I need to do better to serve my clients better? Because the
absolutely.
entire focus is how do you serve clients more effectively and quicker.
Right, right, right. I would now navigate to another side of our, conversation, Amitabh, and as a CFO, you deal with numbers day in, day out. And because we are talking about the people side, and as an organization, KNOLSKAPE is helping leaders and organizations become future ready through experiential learning. Uh, how can human resource as a function contribute to the P&L of a financial institute? Could be a bank, it could be an NBFC, it could be any fintech. What do you see
Great.
the role of human resource in contributing to a P&L?
Very interesting question you asked because we've been discussing this a lot of late with our HR head. And we said, currently, historically, when we started working, and the question you asked me why I've been here for 26 years and what's the reason, I think today the longevity of employees in the first 5 years is too less. People switch jobs very quickly in a short span of time. and which we don't realize, but it creates a lot of pressure on the human resources team. So what we are trying to work with the hiring managers and with the HR is hire right. If you hire the right person, we are seeing what the attrition rates are. And more than the rates, what is the reason people are leaving? Why are they attriting in the first 6 months of joining, first 3 months of joining, first year of joining? Is the work environment not right? Are the people managers not right? Is the pay not commensurate with the market? So understanding that and then hiring the right set of people who fit in into my culture. I think we don't give value to the culture fit a lot, but eventually that's what it matters, right? You want like-minded individuals who have similar value sets to operate. So as an organization, now we're calling out saying, this is my culture, this is my ethos, these are my values which we work with. So that's helping us to connect people that there is a linkage. And we're telling the hiring managers, assess the candidates that are you hiring them in the right way? And once you hire them, are you able to provide them onboarding, joining support for the first 1-2 months with a buddy program or something like that so that they're comfortable and they don't get lost in the organization?
Right.
So hiring right has become very important.
Yeah.
So that I can manage attrition. The other thing where HR is helping me, so that helps me big way to manage my P&L in the sense I'm not losing productivity by constantly losing people in the first 6 months. Because if I lose somebody in 6 months, it's literally 1 year of productivity lost.
Absolutely.
Because to hire a person, it takes anywhere between 1 to 3 months. And if the person leaves in 6 months and another person to hire in 3 months and train, I've lost a lot of productivity. So we are trying to see that how do I value that? So that's why hiring that and adding to the P&L. And secondly, also ensuring that the quality of training what we are imparting is that forward looking to people. Are we doing the right level of upskilling our people? So there's a lot of focus on upskilling, which HR has to do so that the workforce is not obsolete. If it is obsolete, then I have to start doing redundancy, replacement, which doesn't make sense. All I'm losing is my top line productivity rather than focusing so much on cost save. Costs you can cut up to a point of time, not beyond that. So the idea is to grow the top line. And how do you grow the top line? So for what am I future fit for business? So ability to sit and have a frank discussion, creating the right environment and getting people to say what do they need and having HR having an equal voice saying that, these are the skill sets we are seeing in the marketplace.
Yes.
And understanding what's happening in the market. So a lot of time we talk to firms like yours to understand what kind of training, what kind of skill development are they doing in other organizations, not necessarily banking or a BFSI sector. In general, how people are looking to upgrade. We are also providing a lot of educational, professional development, education support to our employees to upskill. So that keeps them engaged, that, the organization values them. And it works both ways very well for all of us.
Absolutely. No, thanks for sharing these great points. And something that I'm going to pick up what you mentioned right in the beginning when we were speaking about attrition. And we were actually baffled when we were looking at certain attrition figures across the BFSI sector for FY25. It was close to 40% attrition on an average across the BFSI sector, which is massive. Now, that does get compensated by the fact that around 20 to 25% hiring also happens, but at a junior level. So again, what recommendation would you give to the HR folks, Amitabh? Because if they don't understand the business model, everything then becomes a shot in the dark. It could be retention, as you rightly mentioned. It could be the performance design. It could be even engagement, employee engagement across the organization. Would you then recommend that the HR actually asks the CFO the right questions? Would you recommend that HR actually understands the company's fundamental business drivers? Because if that doesn't happen, everything related to the employee goes for a toss. So would you recommend that to the HR?
Yes, it's definitely what we are doing is within HR, we are saying an HR, we call them HR business partner.
Right.
So they are not a general pool of people. There are specific people mapped to separate businesses within the bank. So like I have a finance HR business partner who understands what is finance, what do we do as a finance, what are the complications within the finance team, what are the complexities or different kind of job families we have, and what kind of skill sets we require. And then we also try and get HR to spend some time with us to understand our jobs.
Yeah.
How do we impact? What is the impact on the bank we create as of each of our roles? What is the
Yes.
organization impact of each of these roles?
Yeah.
So that's helping them get a wider perspective. Secondly, hiring, we are also bringing accountability to the hiring manager from the business or the function and not leaving it to HR alone. Right? It's my job when eventually I'm the one who has to select a candidate who's working in my team. And equally, I have to be interested and taking ownership. It can't be only HR's role. So when they come together, then it's quicker and better quality of people we are able to hire. So a
Sure.
combination of those and HR having the freedom to challenge us. I think that's the other thing we are asking HR to do, that do I see this role to be there at least for 3, 5, 6 years? Is
Absolutely.
there longevity in the role, or next year I'll tell them, listen, I have a surplus headcount. Now deal
Right.
with the redundancy.
Right. Right.
So
Absolutely.
constantly we are asking HR to challenge back, saying, do you really require? Are
Yeah.
there alternate ways
Yeah.
you can backfill the role, or you can manage whichever way,
Right.
so
Right.
that we don't hire to fire, we hire to grow
Retain.
careers of individuals.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And these are great points. And I hope the audience is taking note of that. You're getting all these points from a very, very seasoned and a very seasoned professional. And Amitabh, there are going to be a lot of questions coming, with maybe I'll pick up towards the last 5 minutes of our conversation.
Sure.
Just moving ahead, Amitabh, and trying to understand this, this whole space of innovation happening, technology coming in, and, you know, and something that you mentioned where you are, there's a lot of focus on talent enablement, talent transformation. Uh, as a consulting organization, what advice would you give us? In terms of working with banks and working in the entire landscape of skill development changing. Any advice for organizations like us?
Advice will be a difficult word, yes, but some thoughts I think of is,
No, absolutely.
I think you need to tell us what's happening in the world outside the banking, which is helping businesses transform.
Right, right.
So it may not be directly linked to the BFSI, but a transformation in a non-BFSI sector can really lead to transformation at our end also. It's essentially servicing customers. Only thing our
Yeah,
products are digital or non-physical product,
right,
right? Essentially meeting customer needs in a regulated, highly regulated environment.
right,
So a lot of that change, what you see in the IT sector, in the manufacturing sector,
right.
eventually it has to transform in terms of money, which is where the banks step in,
Yes,
right?
yes,
So how is that you're seeing the change, and how do we integrate? I think that's a great thing to, if we can get
absolutely.
insights.
Sure. So maybe I'll see a lot of questions coming. Maybe I'll start picking the questions also. And the
Sure.
first one coming, Amitabh, is would banking be a sector you would highly recommend for your children to study and build a career today? Why or why not? An interesting question. Yes.
Yes, definitely. I think, see, as long as we foresee, I think the banking will remain. It's only the us going to a physical branch is diminishing, but the trust factor what a bank provides, I don't think so that's going to go away in a foreseeable future. So definitely banking as a career will exist. The question is, will you have traditional roles of an operator or operations? Those will gradually minimize and go away. I think it's more technology side within the banking on the back end side, and the front end side, always the sales roles will always remain, right? A complex product sales, derivatives, what clients, global markets where we do very complex activity,
Right,
mergers and
right.
acquisitions.
Yes.
Those kind of roles are, a relationship manager role will always be there.
Yeah.
Whatever you and I may say, we still like to meet a relationship manager to understand what the bank is selling or what they're trying to sell us.
Right.
So
Right.
those roles will always be there.
Always be
Yes.
there. Yeah. Because there is this entire thought of AI coming in, and there could be a possible job losses happening in the next couple of years. But what you rightly said, when technology is there, the human part needs to be there because of the entire experience that you would want to give your customers through a relationship manager or
Yes.
otherwise. Absolutely. Sure. And anything specific that HSBC is focusing on? Because, there are certain guidelines by RBI also in terms of controlling customer complaints and everything. Is there anything you would want to share if it's not confidential? What is HSBC doing very specifically to ensure customers get a stellar experience?
I think one thing we're trying to focus on, which is not unique to HSBC for all, is
Yeah.
as the volume of customers are increasing, the number of non-bank customers who are moving to a banking sector. So the banked customer volume is increasing, population is increasing, and as customers go through their own self-economic journey of economic growth, of prosperity, they move up the banking channel in terms of their banking needs. So all the
Right.
banks are trying to do is ensure everything is digital end to end so that the challenges are less, errors are less, operational issues are less. A
Yes.
lot is going to the customer's hand in their control, either through a mobile app or through the internet banking. And that is what we're trying to upgrade and make it very safe for customers so that the customers can do self-service a lot on their own, right?
Right. Right.
You and I don't like going to a branch, even though I sit in a bank above the bank branch. I can't recall that I went to the branch for my need.
Yeah.
I would rather do all of us are multitasking all the time,
Right.
right? So I would do it while in a meeting, in a call, in the car, at night. So nowadays banking in India is 24/7, right? There is no restriction on anything on timing wise.
Right.
So
Right.
making it seamless and and then the other thing is when customers call, then I should have the right skill set of people who can genuinely meet that need of the customer because they're calling because genuinely they need some help, some support.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. And we have another question coming from our audience, Amitabh, and this is primarily something very, very relevant right now is the entire geopolitics happening. So a question is, how is geopolitics impacting banking processes? How are global banks preparing to minimize such impact? Is there any proactive way where, because of the disruption around and the impact of the tariff war happening right now, plus the
Yeah.
different wars, if I may use that word,
Yes.
anything?
So the one thing in this is it directly doesn't impact banks, it impacts
Yeah,
our customers.
it does impact the
And
customer.
then it impacts us because the customers are not able to transact, have lesser business volume, then it
Yeah,
impacts the banks.
right,
What we are
right,
trying to do is be there for our customers, help them navigate through this period, make them understand where they require some support, either in terms of whatever that support is, either in terms of loans or delays in payments, whatever is required. And each geography is very different right now, right? In the current tariff structure, it's very bilateral. So
right,
what customers in a given jurisdiction is facing is very different to customers in another country.
right, right,
Helping customers understand that this is a challenge. In certain cases, we would help saying what other customers in that sector are doing either in another country or in the same country. So some sharing experiences, connecting, presenting the cases through the various industry bodies to the government, representing the banks from that perspective to help
mhm,
support what is required during this transition.
sure, sure. Are you comfortable if we take one more question? I know it's
Sure,
already
sure,
45.
sure.
We are near on the clock,
Yes,
but
yes.
maybe another question. And from a CEO's perspective, CFO's perspective, how do you view
Okay.
investments in learning and upskilling? But there is that entire conversation of investment versus ROI coming. And as a CFO, I'm sure every penny that goes out, you would want to see the return coming. Any quick thoughts on that, Amitabh?
As we were speaking earlier, if I don't do this, I have a lot of obsolete workforce, right?
Yes, yes.
And then to replace that is far more expensive.
Right.
And we lose a lot of productivity as an outcome.
Yeah.
So there is definitely a lot of focus into learning and upskilling. What we try and do is let's say we do a small pilot program for a few set of people and trying to get the senior people more involved in the pilot program so that they can give their inputs that does it work for their teams? Will they get the required output from their team members if you were to put the team members to the training and the
Right.
upskilling?
Right.
So bringing ownership at the top of the organization at level 1, level 2, level 3 into the training programs and upskilling. And then as a result, the senior leadership will have the sales accountability. And then they can't turn around and tell us, listen, we don't have the people with the right skill sets.
Yes.
So
Yes.
rather than running it as an HR program, as a bank-wide program, you're bringing accountability the other way around into the business and the leadership lead, saying you own the training program for the bank for your team. So that's how we're doing it. And it's a good balance. We're seeing stability, lower attrition as a
Right.
result,
Right.
and we can work towards the ambition for the organization.
Sure. Sure. Thank you. Thank you for that. And thank you for your patience, Amitabh. I do see a lot of questions coming. I'm not too sure if we'll be able to respond to that right away, but what we can do definitely is maybe get back to you through an email or something, and
Sure.
maybe we'll share the questions with Amitabh and get his responses on that. Amitabh, again, thank you so much for being part of this great conversation. And, I shared, this is the start of a BFSI Learning Week for KNOLSKAPE, where we're going to get a lot of experts, a lot of subject matter folks, and a lot of business people in the coming sessions. Any closing thoughts, anything you would want to share, Amitabh, before we sign off?
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's been a pleasure, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And for all our listeners, all I would say is the pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity. The optimist sees the opportunity in every difficulty. While the BFSI sector is on a massive growth path, India as a country, in spite of whatever has happened in the last couple of weeks, is turning challenges into opportunities and propelling itself towards a future brimming with untapped potential. So with that thought, we would again thank Amitabh for his time. Thank you to all of you for being patient and being part of this inaugural session of our Learning Week. Thank you and see you around.